Well, good morning. This is from Melbourne, and it's Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers. Now, this will be lesson or presentation 25 of world history. I've covered from the earliest of times to now, and after travelling all around the continents, we're going back to looking at the Iron Age and from then on. So this morning, well, last week I did the Hittites Empire from 1500 BC to about 1100 BC. And they were conquered by the Assyrian soldiers, the Assyrians from current day Iran, Syria, all that area there in the Middle East, near the mountain side. And it's wonderful to see how history actually has developed in different parts of the world. And this one here has got a great past. The Assyrian soldiers too, they left an indelible mark on the world, because they did quite a lot in a few hundred years. So that was great. And the Syrians, even today, they call themselves Syriacs or Chaldeans, Arameans. They are the people from one of the oldest empires of the world. And I'm going to, talk about them this morning. I find it quite exhilarating, and I'd love to see some of the films relating to this early part of the Iron Age. It would be great, to have some visuals as well. I'm sure there are. I haven't looked at them yet, but I will, and I encourage you to do the same. For example, this morning we're going to look at, the plentiful stone. The Syrians had plenty of stones, coming from the mountains. And also they were good traders. They traded with Egypt and with Babylonia, and they also, invented the first checks. And the first, some of the coins also had coins. But they were really a military type of people, and they developed some heavy artillery. Also, then Sargon II and the Assyrian Empire, 7th century onwards. Sennacherib destroys Babylon. Sennacherib builds Nineveh, some of the old cities of the world. You've heard about this, but you never really think, where is this city? And it's not there anymore because it was destroyed. But they were great cities at the time. And they also built the first aqueduct as well. The Assyrians were good with buildings, and they also loved music. So the first music book, for example, libraries. Then there was flood and introduction of cotton. Yeah, unbelievable. Assyria, the first world empire. Fall of Assyria. Why did they fall? Obviously someone else got there. When you become a bit more comfortable, that's when the danger is. So the second thing that I'm going to do is, before the invasion, we're going to look at canoes and containers this morning. And also Benja Patterson, shearing at Castlereagh. Castlereagh in Sydney, of course, one of the first 5 towns that Governor Lachlan Macquarie in 1810 visited and established with his he was a convict governor, a governor of a convict settlement. And then, of course, this week I was able to go to Mumba with my grandchildren and daughter and cousin, nephew. It was good. It was a good outing, and I'm going to share some of the Moomba 2022 with you, because I was able to film it from a nice spot, standing up. It was a very clear view of all the fun that Moomba provides in its parade. And I recommend it to anyone from Hawaii. Whenever you will be in Melbourne, if you come in March, you'll be able to participate in the Moomba parade. It's fantastic, unless we have lockdowns. That's the problem. That can always be a problem. Now, don't forget that this is an ongoing type of work of mine from Insegna Booksellers, and I'm also introducing now some books relating to history and to Italian, the teaching of Italian, French, and also I'm learning Spanish on it. And of course, Dante Alighieri on Sunday. It'll be, this coming Sunday, it'll be Canto 28. Not bad. Time goes by quickly. It's almost 6 months well, more than 6 months that I've been at it now with this online contribution, and I'm very happy with it, and I hope you are too. So it's 11:30, and I welcome anyone who comes on, and if you don't, you can always look me up during the week. Okay, so on live on TomPadula, of course, on Facebook, on insegna.com, on YouTube, and TomPadula.blogspot.com. I've mentioned this before, so people who follow me should be able to access this material. Okay, Assyrian soldiers. Here we are. Building stone plentiful in Assyria in about 2900 BC. So we're looking at just under 3,000 years before the birth of Christ. There was a little settlement on high land overlooking the Tigris River, near where the river issues from the mountains far to the north of the plain of Shinar. The village was named Assur, after the god of the Semitic tribe who had built it. Being near the foothills of the Caucasus mountains, of course, the people of Assur had plentiful supplies of good building stone. Unlike the Sumerians and the Babylonians, because they were, they were closer to the sand, so they had more mud than stone, which see later they made good use of it. So the Assyrians made very good use of the stone, and they built more lasting edifices, buildings. These northern villages quickly learned civilized ways from Akkadian and Babylonian merchants. And by 2000 BC, they had themselves become great traders, whose caravans journeyed as far as the land of the Hittites to Anatolia, current-day Turkey, whence, in addition to merchandise, they brought home ideas, particularly about building in stone. So they learned their building knowledge from outside, coming from trade. And that's important. That, when you trade with other nations, that's what happens. Why wars? I mean, it's ridiculous, honestly. Why wars? The land belongs to everybody in the world. I know there are administrative considerations involved, sure, but peace should reign supreme. And all I'm learning from this history is that there are wars, more wars all the time. Okay, but in the between, there's the invention of checks. Soon, the Assyrians became better traders than their teachers, making two important advances in business methods. Some Assyrians' clay tablets have been dug up, which are really the first checks. Now, again, I'm reading from all the books here, so you'd have to check some of this information. You can go into the details of it. The tablets, are they still existent? Where are they? Which library? Which country, etc. The cuneiform signs say that the tablet represents so many shekels of silver, which will be paid to the bearer by the merchant who wrote it. So, cuneiform writing, cuneiform tablets. And they used it as checks as well. It says, I give this to this person here, it's worth this much. A step towards coinage. Also, they tried to create coins. The Assyrians also took a long step towards the invention of coined money. As in Egypt and Babylonia, the temple priests were often rich merchants. Some temples began making small bars or round pieces of silver, each stamped with its weight and with the name of the temple which had issued it. So, advances in trade, very important. Assyrians, a warlike people, invent first heavy artillery. How did they do this? The Assyrians were quick to learn the use of iron from the Hittites. Were probably the most cruel and warlike of all ancient peoples. Cruel and warlike. Does that remind you of somebody here at this right now? They invented battering rams and armoured siege towers, which usually succeeded in breaching the mud brick walls of the cities they attacked. So then you say, we can get rid of the mud in no time at all. All that, pretty strong, but they invented the heavy artillery. Some of the stories in the Old Testament show how much they were hated and feared by the races they conquered. Of course, no one wants to be conquered. Sargon II and the Assyrian Empire, 7th century before Christ. In 722 BC, there came to the throne of Assyria a king who took the name of Sargon II, in remembrance of the first great Semitic king of Akkad, who had united the plain of Shinar under his rule nearly 2,000 years earlier. Even then, they were, learning from history. Under Sargon II and his descendants, Assyria became for 100 years the greatest empire the world had seen. All the people of the Fertile Crescent and those of neighbouring areas, including Egypt itself, paid tribute to the governors appointed by the Assyrian king. Most of this wealth were used to feed and train the great king's large and pitiless army. So, you keep your army strong, your military strong, fear, induce fear to the people you conquer. You don't want to really kill them all, because otherwise there's no trade. I'm not sure where this is going, with all those beautiful buildings being knocked off in such a dramatic way, with missiles, etc. And in the old times was not much different, except they didn't have as much firepower as we have now. Okay, so that was Sargon II. Now, Sennacherib destroys Babylon. Now, Sargon's son, Sennacherib, punished the rebellion in Babylon by completely destroying the ancient city of Hammurabi. There you are, another nice guy here. He destroys a whole city because there are a few rebels in there. He says, I'm not going to put up with this, so he destroys the whole lot. And they used to put salt on top of the lands unbelievable. The cruelty. He then ordered his men to turn aside the waters of a canal to cover the ruins. Not salt, but water. The only serious setback his soldiers ever suffered occurred in Palestine, where a whole army was nearly wiped out by a plague. Not enemies, a plague. And we've known about the plague, current plague. We've lived through it already, and we're still in it, which the Hebrews believed had been sent by an angel of the Lord Jehovah. So, religion comes in and says, see, your cruelty is being punished by the God. So, Sennacherib builds Nineveh. Sennacherib built a new and splendid capital on the banks of the Tigris north of Assur. A fortified wall 8 miles long enclosed a city larger and more magnificent than any that the world had seen before. It was supplied with fresh water by a long canal from the northern mountains. There you are, beautiful, huh? Nineveh, another good city. Hammurabi, Nineveh, they don't exist anymore. And the first aqueduct as well. In 1933, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a 300 yards long stone aqueduct, the first ever built by men, which Assyrian engineers constructed to carry the waters of the canal across a valley to Nineveh. So that's how they used the army probably. You've got to feed them, you've got to give them something to do. If you don't fight a war, then they help you build your cities, etc. Assyrian building, bas-reliefs. This aqueduct, of course, was made of stone, as were the massive foundations of the great temples and palaces of Assyria. Above the foundations, Assyrian buildings were usually built of glazed brick, as Babylonian buildings had been. The skill of Assyrian stonemasons and sculptors is shown, however, by the many enormous scenes in bas-relief, carved in alabaster, that have been unearthed. The walls of the royal palace of Nineveh were decorated with nearly 2 miles of these bas-reliefs, many of which may be seen today in the British Museum. How did they end up there? I wonder. So, bas-reliefs in the British Museum. Incredible. We might even have some here in our libraries in Melbourne. We'll have to check this one out again. The first music book. In 1924, excavators unearthed an Assyrian clay tablet inscribed with a poem set to music. The music was to be played on a harp of 22 strings, an instrument used in other countries, especially Egypt, before it found its way to Assyria. But the tablet suggests that the Assyrians were probably the first people to work out a system of written musical notes. So the first musical notes, there we are, was written by the Assyrians, Proud history. Ashurbanipal's, Sennacherib's grandson, Ashurbanipal, collected a great library of 22,000 clay tablets in a special room of the palace at Nineveh. So, they respected history. Now, there's also the story of the flood. One of these books tells the old story of the flood, which the Assyrians had passed on to them from the Sumerians, just as another version of the story has come down to us from the Hebrews. Noah's Ark, etc., the Great Flood. All right, so that's another one that comes from the Clay Tablets Library in Nineveh. Introduction of cotton. From another tablet, we learn that in the time of Sennacherib, cotton was introduced into Assyria from India. A translation of the cuneiform signs reads, "The trees that bore wool they clipped, and they carded it for garments." So, the introduction of cotton. Important. All this, what we take for granted today, slowly but surely, these old civilizations used them and passed them on. Assyria, the first world empire. So the first world empire wasn't Egypt, wasn't this. Egypt was a confined state, but this is an empire. you've got 7 or 8, 10 countries under the one rule. Not bad. The map, on this shows you the extent of the empire ruled by the Assyrians. I might just show it to you. Just 1 second. There we are. See that? So you got Babylonia, Nineveh, Assyria, Phoenicia, Jerusalem, Cilicia, Egypt. So part of Turkey as well. So that's the Assyrian Empire. And then the Chaldean Empire was added on after this. And that's what we're going to do next week, the Chaldeans. So that's it. That's where it is. So the map of this page shows you the extent of the empire ruled by the Assyrian kings. The fact that it included Egypt meant that for the first time all the most civilized parts of the Middle East were included in a single state. We shall learn later how this idea of a single world civilization was taken up in turns by the Persians, then by the Greeks, and then by the Romans. By the Greeks, of course, under who, you remember him? Yes? We'll talk about him later. He comes from Macedonia. Okay, so the Persians first, then Alexander the Great, and of course then Rome. Those are the 3 civilizations that took on the idea of the world empire. How you can control areas that don't belong to you, they're close to you. Now, the fall of Assyria. Why did Assyria fall? After all this power, you'd expect them not to fall, but they did. The rule of Assyria, however, was too cruel to last for very long. So you can conquer people, but after the war, they need peace. And if you can't do that, if you try to keep a tight control over them, eventually they will rebel. By 616 BC, before Christ, a new tribe of Semitic nomads, the Chaldeans, had seized the plain of Shinar and rebuilt Babylon. In 612 BC, they joined with the Medes, a people of whom we shall hear from later, and destroyed Nineveh itself. So the Chaldeans and the Medes were the next lot of people who became leaders of the empire. So, all the systems are in place, of course, but the rulers change. And so we give them different names according to who wins the day. Important. So that's it. That's it for this week on the, Assyrian soldiers. And, of course, Sargon the second, and Sennacherib builds Nineveh. Good. And his nephew, it's fantastic stuff. Sennacherib's grandson, Ashurbanipal. Welcome to Antonio Danzi. So I've just finished with the Assyrian soldiers and the empire that they built. They were the first world empire. Okay, and of course they did a great job. They gave us the checks and also had the first coinage. They gave us stories. Well, not a bad thing at all. And so we're moving towards more and more sort of, the history that can be covered in schools as well. But a lot of history that's covered in schools relates to the local country, Australia, and of course it's British, the colonisers. And now we're going to do before the invasion. Now, before the invasion, of course, we're looking at Australia before 1770. Okay, and really, Captain Cook didn't stay. Really, the invasion, if you like, the people came from Europe were Captain Arthur Phillip Philip and his ships, and with guards and, of course, the prisoners, the convicts. And he became the first governor of the colony. So, but what were the indigenous people doing then? They were also building canoes and containers. We looked at how they gathered food and, some of the instruments that they used, utensils. Let's have a look at the canoes and containers. As with weapons and tools, the Aborigines made their own utensils and carriers from local materials. But they obtained some special ones by trade. So if you couldn't get it locally, then you went to the next group. Have you got this? Have you got that? I'll give you this and I'll give you mine. That's all right. That's what we do now, trade. Food and water containers. Women used containers to collect and carry food, water and other things when travelling, and even as cradles for their babies. The best known of these was the wooden dish called a kulamon, Coolamon, in some areas of southeastern Australia, a kulamon. Now, I had never heard of this, kulamon. This could also be used as a spade for digging. The dishes were made from any kind of soft wood. First, a particular tree was chosen. The outside layers of the trunk were cut off and the bark and inside surface of this piece were roughly smoothed to the right depth. In Central Australia, where dishes were in everyday use, the surface was finished with fine ridges or adze marks, A-D-Z-E. So kulamon, adze marks, a bit of indigenous language there. In an emergency, a temporary dish could be made by cutting an oval piece of bark from a gum tree. So you can use trees, and you can get some, you can get utensils. Look, I remember in Montemurro, when we used to go to the Campagna, we ate, and there was no, let's say we forgot the fork. We'd make a fork out of the branches. People have got imagination. Good. And that's what happens here. In an emergency, a temporary dish could be made by cutting an oval piece of bark from a gum. Aka kulam on a wooden dish, Pinjanjara people, Central Australia. So I might as well show you these. Here we are. There you are. Cutting out a bark dish with natural stone. See that? And this guy is doing the same. Carving out a dish of bin tree wood. And that's one of the kulamon, or wooden dish, Pitjantjara people in Central Australia. Welcome to Angela as well. Appreciate people coming on. Good for me. Okay, here we go. Now, we're talking about canoes and containers. Baler and other large shells were used in coastal areas to carry water and food. In the lakes area of the lower Murray and along the Coorong, human skulls were used as water carriers. My God, human skulls. Good dishes, huh? Could use those in a restaurant. Skulls of dead parents and close relatives were preferred to those of strangers. Skulls of dead parents and close relatives. This is not as unusual as it sounds, for skulls were used as drinking cups all over the world, for example in India and Tibet. Amazing, huh? It's something new, isn't it? For you and for me. A few groups in Eastern Australia made strong water bags from animal skins. That's still today. After the killing, the animal was opened around the neck and the skin rolled back and peeled from the body. The leg and tail holes were tied with a cord. The fur was singed out and the whole skin soaked in a fluid made from wattle bark for several hours. These skin containers could hold up to 25 litres of water. That's a big one. My God. These skin bags are mentioned in some of the important myths of the Western Desert people, though they were not being made when white explorers and missionaries first arrived in the Western Desert. So the colonizers, if you like, they didn't see this, but I'll show them to you in a minute. Plant and tree gums were used to seal containers, repair weapons, and to fix handles to tools. This gum came from the sap of certain kinds of tree. Bloodwood, river gums, gidgee or gingy, and many more, or from plants. Grass trees provided gum, and in the desert regions it was taken from spinifex grass. In northern Australia, beeswax was widely used. Now these are important tools that people use. Here we are, I'll show you. This one's here, look. This is called a baler shell water carrier. These were used to carry drinking water and as balers in canoes. They were a valuable item of trade between coastal and inland Aborigines. And this is the one, the skull water carrier. That's it there. And this one was the animal skin water bag that could hold up to 25 litres of water. Not bad at all, huh? And I just want to say that some of this, the history books that I have, they've long gone. They're not available anymore because knowledge gets re-looked at. You know, you need to do a lot of research in order to write new books, etc. And sometimes they leave out a lot of the information that was available before. It's a real pity, but that's how things are. So this is now, this is for before the invasion. And of course, I respect the colonizers because Benja Patterson here has given us a bit of a memory from Governor Lachlan Macquarie. He was responsible for 5 towns when he arrived in 1810. He made the 5 towns. And which ones were they? I told you before. I think the 5 towns. Well, one of them was Castlereagh. I didn't write that down. Penrith is another one. I can't remember the other ones. But anyway, shearing at Castlereagh. Now this is our friend Benja Patterson. Okay, shearing at Castlereagh. It wasn't a suburb then, farms, etc. Shearing. And already there in 1810, Australia was exporting wool to England. Amazing. The bell is set a-ringing and the engine gives a toot. There is 35 shearers here are shearing for the loot. So stir yourselves, you penners up, and shove the sheep along. The musterers are fetching them, 100,000 strong. And make your collie dogs speak up. What would the buyers say in London if the wool was late this year from Castlereagh? Work hard, come on. You know, the wool's got to go to England. The man that rung the tubbo shed is not the ringer here. That stripling from the Cooma side can teach him how to shear. They trim away the ragged locks and rip the cutter goes and leaves a track of snowy fleas from brisket to the nose. It's lovely how they peel it off with never stop nor stay. They are racing for the ringer's place this year at Castlereagh. The man that keeps the cutters sharp is growling in his cage. He's always in a hurry and he's always in a rage. You clumsy-fisted mutton heads, you'd turn a fellow sick. You pass yourselves as shearers, you were born to swing a pick. Another broken cutter here, that's two you've broken today. It's awful how such crawlers come to shear at Castlereagh. They love the, that strong feeling of power over the shears. We pay you, so just do your job, hurry up. And, it was good, all in good banter. It's a good banter. The youngsters picking up the fleas, they were using young people to pick up the fleas, enjoy the married in. They enjoy when they fight. They throw the classer up the fleas, he throws it to the bin, goes in. The pressers standing by the rack are waiting for the wool. There's room for just a couple more. The press is nearly full. Now jump upon the lever, lads, and heave away. Another bale of golden fleas is branded Castlereagh. So Castlereagh is a type of the wool clippings from the shearing sheds. 1810, that was. And before we're looking at a few thousand years before. So time is of the essence. And who knows how many tribes came and went, and how many colonisers came and went. And we've come and we'll be going too, I suppose. So that was that. And now, of course, whenever I want something, oh well, never mind. If you wait along now, we're going to have some fun. Let's have Moomba. Let's have Moomba. Now, if you haven't been to Moomba Parade, you're going to be very interesting here. You're going to enjoy yourself. I'm going to actually include some of, my little group that went to, that went there. Here we go. Yeah, that's me, right? Ready to go to, let's have a look. There we are, walking down the street, ready to roll. There we are. Go, go, go. And the train station. And there we are. I enjoy my selfies for sure. Oop, there's a big group there. Big group, all happy to go to Moomba. Moomba, here we go. The pleasure of being a grandparent. There we are. And also the children of my nephew. That's it. The train coming. The one that we were expecting is coming. And here it is. And we're in the train. There you are, capturing the moment. It's part of history, this one. History. And we got there in the city, and this is beautiful Melbourne for you. Look at that. Aren't we lucky to have such a city? Huh? Beautiful day as well. There we are. Good, yes. Oh, where are we? A bit further up. That's new. That's just been done lately. That's near the gallery there. There we are. And there was a little bird nest up there, which I captured. The gallery, a little bird, which I caught. There we are. And of course, the gallery is great because all the facilities are there too, which is wonderful. And so then we got to Moomba. Look how many people there are there. and the children are bored. Oh, when are they coming? Oh, we've been here for a while. Mumba! And we're giving these little hats, crowns away. There we are. First, we get in there, slowly but surely. Sorry, there you are. There you are. That's what this. There was just a little bit of a touch. There you are. Watching on. This one here. I think, did I say something here? Yes. How exciting. It's about to start. Right. Oh, well, the computer's not working properly. Never mind. Let's hope that we can, there's more. If you haven't been to Mumba for a while, stick around. There you are. Did you like that? That was good music. They're very good, these boys. You gonna some more? No? Yes, maybe. There they are. Oh, well, I don't know with that. We've got some more. Wow, they were great, those people there. They really were. We keep going. There's a nice car here. Came up. Almost there. The excitement, the children excitement. It was fantastic stuff. Love it. And then they started coming down. And well, this is real time, So you just got to be patient. We'll get there. Next one. Yes. Colourful, very colourful. Beautiful. Next one. And Donnie and Angela, enjoy. If you haven't been to Mumba, this is for you. Come on. This is the corn one. Popcorn. They got to a lot of trouble, don't they? Oh, the computer's playing up. There you are. See, that's look how many people there. Beautiful. Next one. This is a Bulgarian group. Wow. Now, Werribee Concert Band. Nice one. Beautiful. There you are. Next one. This is Caulfield Grammar School. I love the banter of the people, though. It's fantastic. Look at this. Indonesian flags. Yeah. Beautiful costumes, my God. Bring it on. Yes. Well done, Indonesia. Very impressive, this one. Surfing! Yay! That was a good one, that. I really love that. Come on, any more? Looks like that's a bit of a photo. It won't come up. Well, it's a photo. Let's have a look. This is the Maltese one. A lot of people participate. Incredible. All those beautiful costumes. Mumba, let's get together and have fun. There we are. More to come. Bollywood. Look at this, unbelievable, this one. That's beautiful. That's it was a bit short, that one. Where is it? Here we are. Come on, children! That's a nice one. Yeah. Puppy, puppy. Plenty of energy here. The Polish group. Welcome to Assunta Lombardi. We're doing Moomba 2022. I've taken a bit extra time today because I wanted to show you the Moomba parade. Of course, not the same when you're there, but, you know, gets you an idea of Melbourne. The rich multicultural traditions of Melbourne, here they are. The Italians used to participate once upon a time. There was nothing this year of Italian background in there with so many clubs. Now we got to watch. They take pictures. It's a Vietnamese group here. It's fantastic. I've got one of those hats. I think Nella bought it. New one? Come on. Not coming up. Must be a photo. That's better. Bagpipes, huh? They weren't very loud though. Fire brigade. Good one. That's for you, Michael. Forest. That's for the farm. Forest management. Well, this is a good number for us, huh? This is our number. Our number. Look at this. Oh no, this is it. The Chinese dragon. Look at this. Traditionally, Chinese dragon came right at the end, but this time here is it's in the middle of the parade. They've changed the animals there. And of course after this is part one, the Moomba part one. I'll play Moomba part two next week. Pretty long.
Yeah, well, it looks like it. Normally, traditionally, the Chinese dragon at Moomba is last. This year, Sandy Moore, there it is. Well done. Wide to the tail.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that one because that's Moomba 2022. I had a good position to film. It was great. You know, the excitement of being there. You know, I mean, but if you weren't there, at least this gives you an idea of what happens. And you have to wait. We waited 3/4 of an hour before. You've got to get you've got to go down. There's a lot of people. You have to find a spot, etc., etc. So, you know, it is. It's a pleasant sacrificio. Very pleasant. It was a beautiful morning and early afternoon, and I'll show you the second part next week. So this week we've covered the Assyrians, and you know, that the city of Nineveh was something that remained in my mind. And then, of course, even before the invasion, it's quite interesting to think that when I came to Australia and I did Australian history, the history books always talked about the Aborigines as being savages, this and that, whereas they're cultures, they're nomadic cultures, nomadic, people, Neolithic cultures, people who move around, because there aren't many people, basically. So you've got plenty of land, you can move from one place to another, nobody says anything. Whereas, look at this today. I mean, Melbourne was sold for a few combs and a few bits and pieces to the colonisers. This is Melbourne now, from 1835, 1935, 2000, almost. It's under 200 years. Look at it. Look at the people. Look what happens now. Makes you think. History. We're looking at hundreds of years, different cultures, all around the world, and we make our own as well. Okay, so it's been another. Well, I've enjoyed it this morning, especially going through the footage of Mumba. For me, I hadn't seen it. It's good that it's somewhere here in the annals of history on my podcasts. Okay, arrivederci, grazie to Antonio, Angela, and Assunta. Other people will come on, of course, but for today, grazie mille, ci vediamo la prossima volta. Ciao, da Tom Padula, TomPadulaTV, and of course, Insegna Booksellers. Fantastic. Ciao. Thank you for the good comments.